great leaders and great scholars. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Mazwe Majola. I'm from the Worldwide Institute of Leadership and Development. We meet every Wednesday, or not every Wednesday is you. Yeah, indeed, actually, weekly. We meet every Wednesday, every week. That's where we meet. We meet as leaders, as scholars, from different universities and leaders from public sector, private sector, community, religious leaders, professionals from all walks of life to discuss leadership, to inspire each other and empower each other, correct each other, and admonish each other, because we've realized that leadership is leadership. Yes, I mean, if you have not realized that leadership is leadership, leadership is a journey. Leadership is not a destination. Great leaders, as long as we are still on this planet Earth, you've got to constantly develop yourself, because you will soon become obsolete if you don't constantly develop yourself. So we're here every Wednesdays to learn and learn, to relearn and to co-learn from each other, and to inspire each other and to empower each other, so that we can be world-class leaders and so that we can improve, so that we will remind each other of our responsibilities and our duties as leaders. So I'll be introducing our speaker shortly, but just to welcome our regulars and our members. These are men and women who are here almost every Wednesday, so as much as they can, or as often as they can. We learn a lot from each other, indeed. We learn a lot from each other. This is our master classes, and we learn a lot from each other. We've improved. I always say there is no way you'll attend this session and then you'll be the same again, or you'll attend this session and never want to come back again. Because indeed, this is the community of leaders. This is where leaders talk to other leaders and strengthen each other, and encourage each other as leaders. But a particular welcome to those colleagues who are joining us for the first time. If you're here, you've never been with us before, super welcome to you. We welcome you. Please do feel at home and do participate. As long as you're a leader, you belong here. So don't be diffident or hold back and say, no, I just want to hear from others or learn from others. It's good to hear from others indeed, but also we can learn from you as well. So the format is that I'm going to introduce the speaker. He will take over. He will address us, and then only then we can engage him and engage each other in a conversation, questions and answers. The format is very simple and straightforward. So please do not raise your hand while the speaker is still on the podium or still is speaking. You can only do that once the speaker has finished his address. So yes, thank you so much. Yeah, tonight we are discussing steward leadership. That's one of the very important topic or area in leadership that we really need to now and then challenge each other or remind each other about it. Steward leadership. And I'm so glad, I'm so honored and privileged. We are so glad and honored and privileged, actually, all of us, that Professor Edward Kisweta is coming, or rather is coming again. Obviously, he's been with us before. That is why we've said part 2, because we had a part 1 last year, and we thank God that it has been possible in his busy schedule that really he was able to squeeze us again to give us a part two. God willing, we hope sometime next year, we'll have part three, because obviously things evolve. Things evolve and leadership evolves as well. So it's so important now and then that we remind each other. I'm not, with huge humility and respect to you, Prof. Kisweta, and to you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to read his long CV. We know him. That is why we are all here. He's the commissioner at SARS, and he also holds many other accolades, and he sits in many boards and many structures. So because of time, we know that we are online here, so everything's so time constrained. So with that humility, I'd like to introduce him, Commissioner Professor Edward, as Ed Kisweta, to address us. My professor, thank you so much once again. I know that you've been traveling, you've been everywhere, and even just your humility and just your respect for this platform. We really love you. We admire you. We admire the work you do. Really, we've noticed the needle has shifted there at SARS since you have taken over, and that is why we want you back, and we want you back again, so that you can also assist us in terms of this era. So thank you so much. You've been with us. Everything is still the same, Prof, in terms of the format, as I've said earlier on. This is the part two of Steward leadership. Over to you there, my professor.
So good evening, Prof. Majola, and to those who have joined. It's always a pleasure to share this platform with you. And I want to underline the point you make, that we are here as co-learners, because leadership is an endeavor for lifelong learning. You never you never finish this journey of learning to lead and leading to learn. And in particular, for me, when you reach your sell-by date, as I have, one of the best things for us is to know that we have the responsibility to also hand over the baton to the next generation. And I know there's many next generation leaders who is on this platform. And of course, not only a baton, but hopefully also a few of the life lessons that we have learned. So that's really why I gladly accept this. I'm going to just share my screen so that I'm literally going to do a whistle stop journey through my through the slides that I have, but don't pay too much attention to the slides. The slides are there just to help me from the intimidation that you on this impressive platform present. So they're there more for my protection than for anything else. And of course, what will be important is the conversation that will follow. So let me rush through the slides and get to the part where you can engage with me and we can really have a heartfelt conversation. So we, as I said, this is now coming to report back. In 2022, almost 3 years to the day, I boldly announce that we have embarked on a journey. At the time, we had just come through COVID, which had tried to disrupt this journey. We had to remain resolute. And today, I have to come to you on this platform. Many of you have been here, and I have to now account to you. Were they empty promises? Were they just words? or was there any substance to that? And it is continuation of the journey of the power, but not just the power, the need for more steward leaders, because it is steward leadership that is the heart of the modernization of SARS to an institution that our democracy and the 62 million who rely on our work deserve. So this is the continuation of the conversation we had on the 20th of July. Let me start by again sharing you my theory of leadership. This is personal. I share this with you not as a doctrine, but as a reflection of what has worked for me. You decide what will work for you. But I start by saying leadership is not a right. No one's entitled to lead. And I often say that leaders must take their work seriously instead of taking themselves seriously. We have far too many leaders who have a sense of self-importance, a sense of entitlement, instead of focusing on the opportunity to serve as an inordinate privilege. Because there's no other purpose to lead than to serve. And once one understands that it is about serving others, I will come in a moment to what I believe are some of the characteristics that are central to a steward leader. Inspiration, you cannot legislate followership, you must inspire it. And we don't inspire others by telling them how great we are. We inspire others by making them believe how great they can be. And then that's balanced by a sense of genuine humility and seriousness about the work we do. Humility is implicit in level 5 leadership, and that describes a leader who has an indomitable will to achieve something worthy, balanced by the genuine understanding and humility that they cannot do it alone. Characterized by 4 things. Firstly, that they know they are trustees of the interest of others. They are holding trust what belongs to another. SARS does not belong to me or the management team. SARS is an asset of the South Africans, and we are entrusted with the leadership or the stewardship of this institution, and only for a season, and then we hand it over. We don't hold on to this forever. It is a service-first mindset, but not self-service. It is about placing the needs of others above one's own. No one expects leaders to be martyrs, to be sacrificial, and to suspend their own interest. But a steward leader would always subordinate his or her interests above that of others. And they enable growth. They nurture others to grow and to become stewards themselves. And they are legacy builders, which means that whatever they have inherited, they have this incessant yearning to bequeath something greater. And this is what guided the leadership approach at SARS. You see on the screen, I've shared this earlier, what we have built with the top 70 leaders at the time. Over a period of 18 months, we built a homegrown, customized, yet scholarly leadership model that I am proud to say is world-class. And so that then is the leadership journey we undertook. I want to share with you what I call the 6 I's of steward leaders. And you can look for this in any leader. The first is steward leaders have a concern for the impact of their leaders on others. And they are mindful to ensure that that impact is positive and not negative. So they have a heightened sensitivity to their own impact on others. Second I is intent. Steward leaders have clarity of intent. They know what they aim to achieve. They communicate it with simplicity. They communicate it consistently, and they don't tell a different story every day. And then the third I is the inspire positive action. We spoke about that earlier on. You cannot coerce positive action. You have to inspire it. The root word of inspire is in spiritus, which means is when we inspire, we draw our own sense of engagement from the highest sense of who we are, not from our basic animal instinct, neither from our developed Homo sapien intellect, but from the highest sense of who we are. Some may call it a spiritual being, others may call it a being of higher consciousness, but it is the higher sense of who we are, the spirit that we represent. And then we accept that not everyone will believe, not everyone will accept or follow, and therefore we do not reject disbelievers, we embrace them, and we have the constant intention to influence them to believe. And very often when we have influenced the believer to believe, they become our greatest disciples, our greatest supporters, our great co-creators. And then you also accept, I mean, the good book speaks of Moses and those who followed but lost. They became filled with despair, they lost hope. So steward leaders provide ongoing insight. They remind people of the goal. They don't just vision once, they re-envision all the time. When the dark clouds gather, they remind people, they clarify the goal, they provide insight. And then they do not create heroes, single heroes. They create, or what we call, one or two rainmakers. They create a community of heroes. So they nurture strong interdependency. They know that together each achieves more. So those for me are the 6 I's of steward leadership as developed over many years and as a framework through which one guides one's own leadership behavior in relation to others. So turning then to the case study of SARS, which, as I said, is premised on the foundation of steward leadership. I really am going to rush through these slides, literally 30 slides a second, 30 seconds a slide, so that you get a sense, but the story that I will tell you will be in the words that I share. So this is a nice picture. This is with compliments of the cartoonists who in 2019 depicted SARS as a motorbike on bricks with nowhere to go, and a new commissioner arriving, removing the state capture sign and committing to South Africans, we are here to serve you. How encouraging it is to see 5 years later, 6 years later, the motorbike, the Vespa now has wheels, the carriage is filled with money, and the minister looks to SARS and says, I need more money, and you are the best place to come to. So it's a nice depiction of the journey as depicted by the cartoonist. But when I last saw you, or when I first took office on the 1st of May 2019, life has moved on. It's become more challenging. The future of tax administration faces stubborn and emerging challenges, and that's before you even get to the own goals that we have scored and the challenges of our own domestic context. The world is changing, and we have to ensure that our playbook also addresses this, and hence this incessant desire to invest and transform SARS into a fully digitally and AI-enabled platform. But our journey starts with people. Everything is about people, whether it is the 62 million South Africans whom we serve, the 35 or so taxpayers who are registered, or the 14,000 employees whom I am privileged to lead. Everything is about people and the impact we have on people. Because ultimately, SARS serves our democracy. We are proud to say that in 1994, SARS collected 114 billion. And when we ended the year, last year, it was 1.855 trillion. Let me give you a data point that is astounding. On the last 2 days of the revenue year end, SARS collected what it collected in the entire year of 1994. In other words, our collections was about 120 billion rand on the last 2 days. A compound growth over the period of our democracy of almost 10% and a cumulative contribution. Without SARS, our democracy would be unfunded, because we can be proud to say that a well-functioning tax administration is one of our proud achievements. Our tax base in that same period has grown from 27 to now more than 35 million if I add the current. So it's really an encouraging story that we can all claim, because it is our story. Our legal mandate, of course, is in law, but we said that it is not about what we do, it is about being clear why we do it. And so we crafted a statement of higher purpose that says we enable government to build a capable state that fosters sustainable economic growth and social development, ultimately to serve the well-being of all South Africans. And we single out the most vulnerable among us, because wealthy people and privileged people, and most of us on this call would fall into the privileged group just by being on this platform we are. We can generally insure ourselves against disasters, natural or man-made, poor service delivery, but wealthy people cannot. Poor people can't. They are reliant on government to provide it. And that's whom we work for. I always say I am employed by government, but I work for South Africans, because without our work, our democracy would be unfunded. So the clarity is firstly a clear intent that we want to build a system based on voluntary compliance. And this is very important. We don't assume people are crooks. We assume people are good people who want to fulfill the laws. Our job is to help them. And our our compliance theory, therefore, embeds this. I won't spend time on this, just to say that we follow through our theory of compliance with a compliance model that believes that most people are honest. We must make it easy for them. Those who are willing but not able, we must provide assistance until the irreducible minimum, to whom we must hold fully accountable to answer to the law. Everything we do is about finding the Goldilocks point between service and risk. And you'll see later on how the deployment of technology as well as AI increasingly is helping us find the golden point on this continuum. So in implementing our strategic intent, we have 9 objectives, the first 3 being our core business objectives, which is voluntary compliance. 3, the first is making it clear and simple, clear and understandable. The second is making it easy. And the third is presenting a credible threat of detection. The next 4 is how we enable the first 3 through people, data, technology, and other resources. And the last 2 is based on the understanding that we are not an island, we are an ecosystem. Therefore, we need to work with and through other stakeholders in government, in private sector, domestically and abroad, and ultimately building public trust, sacrosanct to voluntary compliance. And doing that, it is our intent to build a smart, modern SARS, but we did not just focus on the smart and the modern. The DNA of SARS must be unquestionable integrity, trusted and admired. And we measure all of this to ensure that our vision is not a distant dream that is elusive, like a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but that the milestones we measure gives us the feedback that our vision is materializing. And that's very important for us. We measure everything. So Imagine a future where the only time you will hear from SARS is once a year when you receive a thank you message from us. Nothing else. You will not hear from us. You will not see us. We will not call you. You will not call us. You'll just hear a thank you. Now, is that even possible, you may ask? Well, I'll demonstrate to you in a moment that not only is it possible, we already are doing it. So our modernization journey, which is the deployment of digital technologies and increasingly AI technologies, has led that transformation. And increasingly, it is about the deployment of the latest AI. If I spoke to you 5 years ago, I would not have used language such as ChatGTP or Grok or agentic AI because it didn't exist. Today, if I don't use these terms, you should be worried that I'm irrelevant and out of date. But again, I draw your attention to what it does for us, but the standard is to do so beyond reproach in a way that fosters trust, promotes efficiency, and ensures transparency. Because that's the standard by which we must be held accountable by South Africans, by Parliament, who represent the will of the people, and ultimately our principals, the government of the day. I want to take you quickly under the hood of SARS. Not many people see this, so let's keep this as a secret between us. Let me take you under the hood. You may not know that our digital and technology infrastructure consists of 200 interconnected sites that enables over 14,000 end users, enabling more than 33 million registered taxpayers to engage with us with a systems uptime of 99.9%. The 0.1% is when we need to take it down to maintain and the occasional issue that we have to deal with. But 99.9% is our standard. What does it do? It enables our 250 systems to handle 232 million messages every day, or 85 billion messages a year. It allows our 6,600 databases to process 1.2 billion records every day, or 438 billion records a year. It enables our 3,000 servers to store over 13 petabytes of data. And for the geeks in the room like me, that is enough data capacity to hold an entire Netflix library in high definition more than 15 times over. So that is what is under our hood, allowing us to provide seamless processing, nearly uninterrupted, handling 465 million operational volumes and transactions a year, registering 1 million new taxpayers every year, processing 26 million returns, 8 million customs declarations, and 19 million payments, and managing 32 million service and compliance-related activities between our taxpayers every year. This is the work we do. And harvesting over 320 million third-party data records from third-party providers that allows us to provide a seamless service to many, many taxpayers. So SARS is the backbone of South Africa's fiscal system. It serves the 62 million citizens, the taxpayers, the registered entities, and collects 2.3 trillion in gross revenue, which is 10 billion rand every working day, or 1.3 billion rand every working hour. That's since the minute we started talking. What that means is SARS would have collected over 650 million rand at the end of the working day. 304 billion from compliance efforts, and we at the same time plow back into the economy 448 billion rand through refunds and other payouts, and facilitated 4 trillion rand of trade. That is what the under the hood infrastructure is facilitating seamlessly to the extent that none of you even are aware of it. And so that's kind of what is driving the motor car that you see. That's the engine that drives it. We are obviously the driving seat, the teams, the people, etc. But what is digital transformation in the age of AI? Well, firstly, clarity is key. We know that this is not digital transformation for the sake of digital transformation. It is about impacting the experience for our customers, enabling our employees to serve our customers, and empowering our stakeholders to know what we're doing and to hold us accountable. Because without that clarity, digital transformation is more likely to accelerate inefficiency and to fine-tune uncertainty. Because digital and AI do not have a will of their own. They serve the will and the purpose of those of us who deploy it. Let me quickly take you through a journey of the transformation. In 1994, there were two departments in government, the Department of Binnelandse Sake, Inland Revenue, and the Department of Aksain and Douane, Customs and Excise. They were taken out of government, and two departments had to merge into a single entity. And between 1994 through 3 phases of transformation, today we present to you a smart, taxpayer-centric, not administratively bureaucratic, paper-based organization, but a smart, taxpayer-centric, modern, digitally transformed tax and custom administration. How did that come about? In the first era of modernization, or what we call modernization 1.0, it is about taking paper and manual processes and digitizing it into electronic platforms and servers and front ends that people could engage at. So that was the first phase. From 1994 to 1997, what happened. In digitization or modernization 2.0, it was then about transforming those physical experiences into digital experience. So the physical experience of completing an income tax return, my dad used to call it a buff form, attaching supplementary documents to it with a stapler or a paperclip, putting it in an envelope and posting it to SARS or delivering it there was a physical experience. Today, that entire experience is digital, online. No paper, no data capturing on our side, mostly pre-populated. Inside, it meant that our staff no longer had to capture data, they no longer had to perform assessments, and they no longer had to process every single refund, which is why in 2006, it would have taken 6 months to complete an assessment, and on average 50 days before a refund was paid out. We have therefore created a platform that has disintermediated over 12 million physical engagements to digital engagements by building this impressive platform. We're using it to balance this continuum of service and risk. So in 2007, with 8 million taxpayers base, we delivered 573 billion of revenue. 97% of filing was paper-based, 3% digital, and we didn't even measure risk return. By 2019, that base had grown to 27.8, the revenue to 1.356, 67% digital, and we then introduced 3% auto assessment with a 72% acceptance rate. We then started measuring our risk management, yield per alert of 5,500 Rand, and yield per return of 14,000 Rand. Then comes modernization 3.0, which is where we are in now. We call it the age of AI, where employees of SARS have to now coexist and collaborate with agentic AI or AI agents. And so this is some use cases I share quickly. We now have, in terms of systems and infrastructure, monitoring and response. cybersecurity risk detection, compliance risk management, AI-powered machine learning models to do predictive modeling, propensity modeling, regression, and neural networks to identify outstanding debt, to detect individuals not registered or not required to file. Taxpayer service, we have built a virtual assistant using GPT-4.0 large language models. Biometric verification and authentication using the MS Azure facial recognition. And in terms of productivity, using Microsoft Copilot to drive productivity and agentification. And we're using Microsoft Copilot Studio to empower our customs agents using NLP-based data science. So this is our suite of the more recent agentification and related adoption. So here's one use case. By deploying this, we have made tax just happen for 5 million taxpayers. So let me share with you. Last year, of the 8 million taxpayers who had a filing obligation, 5 million had to do nothing. We did the work for them. 60% of them received an auto assessment with a 98% acceptance rate. The 8% who walked into our service center, we filed them online, we terminated the paper, and 90% of those who filed online would have received their assessment outcome in under 5 seconds, and 70% of all refunds paid out in under 72 hours, whilst preventing 5.5 billion impermissible VAT and PAT refunds. In rands, that's about 105 billion rand. So all of this would not have been possible. So look at the story. From 6 months to do an assessment, to now not having to submit a return and receiving your assessment, and those who do file in 5 seconds. From over 50 days to receive a refund, now under 72 hours. And from not measuring the 5 billion of impermissible VAT refunds to now adding over 100 billion of additional revenue that would otherwise have been paid out in refunds. So that's an important use case. We continue to leverage people, data, and technology. And our revenue management system, which I won't spend time on now, is what guides us to achieve the revenue outcomes that South Africans have begun to take for granted. Data-driven compliance. We say our success is not one big thing, it's 32 million little things. So we can tell you that 94 billion of the revenue that we announced was done by resolving 3.7 million outstanding debt cases using debt propensity models, machine learning models. That 103 billion from tax verifications using AI risk profiling powered by big data, debt equalization, refund fraud, the detection MI. 959 billion from resolving 320 tax and customs compliance, and so on, contributing the 18 billion or 304 billion rand to the fiscus. So it's not one big thing, 32 million little things. And that's often the case, that success is not a single thing. There's further use cases. I won't spend too much time. Just flip through these so that you can you see it. But one of it is the VAT returns. 90% of all VAT returns we don't even see. 10% is alerted for further risk. And that work not only provides an instant return for 90% of 4.5 million, but from the 450,000 that we stop, we prevent the outflow of 40 billion rand of impermissible or fraudulent refunds. We want to do the same for VAT. That's our vision for VAT, to get to the auto assessment equivalent that we have in PIT for VAT. So I'll now complete that slide for you by adding 2024. Tax base have grown to 33 million, revenue to 1.741. Actually, that is 1.855 in the last year, and tax filing 60% auto assessed with 98% acceptance. And look at our yield per return. That's a function of calibrating that continuum that I spoke to you about, getting better at machine learning, fine-tuning those AI. Our yield per return have gone from 14,000 to 30,000 rand. Of course, data science also helps us uncover and unwind illicit industries like the tobacco industry, and we aim to ensure we take our people along with us, because I believe that technology and AI will not disintermediate people, but it will disintermediate people who do not embrace AI. The future is not something we're waiting for, it is here, and we have to get fit and ready and help our people become comfortable to coexist with AIs. Not in the future. We are now busy looking at how do we scale up agentic AI in what you would know as contact centers. We're looking at an integrated service center where there is a seamless transition across our service channels, and behind it will sit an AI bot with whom you will engage and who will resolve the issues. We have last year refreshed our playbook because the world has moved on. Not going to bore you with that now, but just to again say we measure everything. So our new playbook, the success thereof, will be measured against 6 very specific outcomes and 10 generational projects. The projects are legacy. In other words, they're not transactional. They are intent to transform the way we engage with taxpayers by deploying further technology and modernizing our platform, but also not leaving our people behind. The 8 measures of success is if we succeed, then over the 5-year period, we should increase voluntary compliance, we should enhance taxpayer experience, we should improve our own employee capability, we should streamline our processes and improve operational efficiencies, and we should cement long-term institutional integrity to future-proof SARS. What does winning look like? Well, firstly, for taxpayers and traders, just a thank you. That's all. When we reach this, it's the ultimate easy. We want to work towards a point where the best service is no service and the experience is seamless. For our employees, we want them to be fully engaged, high-performing, with a clear sense of purpose, whilst at the same time prepare them for the evolution of the world of work in the future. For government and citizens, we want to ensure our mandate is fulfilled so that we can collect the revenue that's due, ensure an improvement in compliance, facilitate legitimate trade, because that is what changes the lives of people through clean water, electricity, healthcare, and education, to name a few. We do not yet declare victory, but I would like to share with you, since the last time, have we made progress? Are we succeeding? Well, let me share with you, we measure everything. So we can tell you that in an economy that has grown between 4.5% and 5% over the last 6 years, our revenue has grown by a compound annual growth rate of 7.6%. And within that, compliance revenue of almost 18%. Voluntary compliance up by 3.4 percentage points, and trade facilitation volumes up by 51%. Those of you who are scholars of the balanced scorecard, the blue ones are the lag indicators, the gray ones are the lead indicators. That indicates the health of the system. So I'm very proud to say to you that in 2019, taxpayer service measured by the service charter was 54%. Today, it is 87%. Taxpayers' attitude towards compliance, 66 to 77%. Public trust from 48 to almost 75%. And our own employees, when we measured in 2020, just before COVID, was 61%. It has increased to 71%. We have received consistently an unqualified audit report, and in the last 3 years with no findings. So not just unqualified, but a clean audit report, demonstrating you can achieve these world-class results without breaking the rules and the governance. That's what we call effective resource stewardship. Being recognized as the most digitally transformed public sector by independent assessment. And earlier this year, Microsoft ran a hackathon. We were the only public sector entity involved, and very proud to say that we won the hackathon And this is about agentification of what is known traditionally contact centers. To be ranked number one by business and commerce professions is certainly something we are very proud of. And for our own employees, with a 68% response rate, to be now working harder but being more engaged is something that we are really and truly humbled by. We have expanded our role in the international arena. So chairing the African Tax Administration Forum, vice chair of the OECD Forum on Tax Administration, vice chair of the WCO, co-chair of the OECD. I, by the way, just completed my term, 2-year term as chair of the World Customs Organization and co-chair of the Africa Initiative. And so these are some of the leadership role demonstrating our vision. Remember, our vision is smart and modern, beyond reproach, trusted and admired. And it is this that has drawn attention to SARS. Let me leave you with what I call the leadership insights from this journey. Key insight one is people, people, people. They are at the center of everything they do. They are not the most important thing that we do. It is the only thing that gives us reason for existence. If we ever lose sight of this, we are not steward leaders. We may be bosses, dictators, and other forms of titles, but steward leaders, everything they do is about the transformational impact on the well-being of people. Secondly is lead with clarity. Leaders are good storytellers. They tell stories that inspire people. Good stories are easy to tell, easy to understand, but not only that, they draw you in so that you can also see yourself in the story and you want to be part of it. That's the power that strategic clarity and a compelling vision does. The key insight 3 is leaders must be clear where they stand on matters of substance. Don't be ambiguous. Don't be wishy-washy. We all look now to see how will the president respond to these allegations that surfaced on, and I'm not prejudging it, but what will matter is what is the response? Is it wishy-washy? Is it clear? When I am asked, I am very clear. On day one, I wrote a letter to all our staff where I explained where I stood on state capture, what staff could expect of me, what I would expect of them, and if we did that, what we could achieve together. Every year we go back and we report on this. When asked in Parliament, I was very clear. I would not bend to an unlawful instruction or an irregular instruction from any politician. I would rather resign. If we are not clear where we stand on these matters, if you don't know what you stand for, you will fall for anything. The fourth insight is take the tough issues head on, but with integrity. So when it was necessary, we apologized to employees who were adversely affected by state capture. We made reparation. We suspended those who were caught became either complicit or compliant, and we dealt with that and began to build a meritocracy, because meritocracy is what matters. The fifth insight is ultimately being human in an age of AI and rapid deployment of technology. Being human is our only competitive advantage, because we can imagine, we can be curious, we understand ethics, we are thinking beings, caring beings, feeling, empathetic. We have consciousness, understanding. Even the latest GPT produces outcomes for me that it itself does not understand or have any feeling for. And so being wise, being ethical, and curating the insights from is what our job is, and ultimately to collaborate to ensure we do the right thing. And then the sixth insight is, as we embark on digitalization, be clear we know what purpose digital transformation and AI must serve. Because the environment is complex, we have ethical dilemmas, we have organizational challenges, and if we are not clear what AI must do for us, we could trigger our own demise, because AI is not a free call. It is the call that comes with as much risk as it presents opportunity. And lead by example. So I do not do anything today without working with my personal AI co-worker to help me, to advise me, to share insights with me so that I can make better decisions. From my own reading list, I want to share with you. These are some of the books that I read. There's a few more books that should be added to this that I've begun to read. So this slide, apologies, has not been updated. I want to pause there. Hopefully, you may not remember every slide, but you will remember the story that I have shared. Nkosi kakhulu. I'm open for questions, Prof. Majola. Over to you.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much, my professor. Thanks a lot. If you can maybe just close the presentation from your side. Thank you, sir. Yeah, yeah. Why don't we do like what Lwazi and Hlengiwe and Adelaide is doing, ladies and gentlemen? Can you just check any icon that you can click there just to show love, just to show respect and admiration to this son of the soul? Please, can we all do that? If I didn't want to respect, I would be saying, can we just open your videos, all of you, and just show love to this patriotic son of the soul, Professor Kiswet. You know why I'm saying this? Because in this platform, we always say South Africa is replete with great leaders. And I marvel when I see this in this platform, because it gives hope to me as a South African that few days ago, we hear something so disturbing in our country from General Mkhwanazi. And today, wow, we're so lucky to be in this platform that we can really just to hear someone giving us this hope and this positivity that we've got great leaders in our country. And I'm so sorry, Prof. Kisweta, but as you were presenting here, and then in my mind, I'm just saying how I so wish in our country, our constitution allowed that we could just appoint, or we could just appoint the president direct, not through through a party politics, because that's when we're really saying that if we have leaders like this in our country, why would we be having so much crisis and so much difficulties? But yeah, let me not waste time with but I'm also allowed to be just a little bit to be fascinated at times. Ladies and gentlemen, we've heard it from Professor Edward Kisweta. Now we can engage with questions, but let me just take this opportunity maybe to ask a question, then I'll open the floor to you. Just a quick one, my professor. By the way, how long are you left with SARS now, or how long do you want to be there?
I'm counting down the months now.
No, no, but at least you've done something for SARS, which we appreciate. So wish that maybe you could be political terms redeployed to another structure where you can just go and turn around things there, because we really want you to continue the good work that you are doing at SARS. What is your projection for 2030? I mean, at the moment, you are at what about 1.80 trillion in terms of collection. I mean, from from 114 billion in 1994 to 1.8 trillion. And then in 2030, where do you see in terms of the collection in South Africa?
So the estimate the minister set for us this year is 1.986 trillion. We have challenged ourselves, and it's again another secret just between us here on the platform. So I don't want to see it on the front page of the Business Day tomorrow. We have a silent ambition this year to cross the 2 trillion mark of net revenue. We've already crossed the 2 trillion on gross revenue. We have a silent ambition to do that. And we believe if we have maintained a steady tax buoyancy of over 1% growth, over 1% since our inception. The last 6 years, our tax buoyancy averages above 1. What that means is a tax buoyancy of 1 says that if the economy in nominal terms grow by 5%, tax revenue should grow by 5%. What we have challenged ourselves to do is to grow by more than 5%. But you can work out just at 5%, if that's the kind of nominal growth, you can work out where we will be in 2030.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now let me take hands. I've seen hands already. They were flying. I saw a hand from Reverend Boloi first. I don't know if your hand is still on the Mongameli. And then it will be followed by my brother, the Ngobani Mzizi. We'll take those ones for now, and then the professor will respond, and then we'll take another round. Reverend Bono, is your hand still up, or is you still there, Mongameli?
Prof, no, I was trying to find a reaction when we were clapping hands, and I pressed the wrong one.
Thanks, my brother. That. No, that's fine. Thank you, sir. Thanks, my brother. Mr. Mzizi, over to you.
Good to hear your voice, Rev.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. My brother, Ngobani Mzizi, over to you, sir.
All right, thank you very much, Prof. And good evening to the Commissioner. Thank you for this very inspiring presentation and taking us through the journey of how you've succeeded since you got onto that will-less Vespa, 6 years ago to where you are now. Maybe on a lighter note, before I get in, is to ask for a ride on it before you end at the end of the months that you are counting. But on a serious note, I think I must commend you. Certain things you can't lie or hide. The efficiency of SARS from that time to now, I think beyond being a good storyteller, the evidence is there for everyone to see as to how things have been happening. I mean, with the auto-assessment, for a couple of years when it started, I was getting auto-assessed. Well, of course, I mean, as things changed, now I need to submit. And I found that process to be very efficient. So one needs to commend you on that. Of course, with all the other successes and that table where you showed, or the slide where you showed the improvements from 2019 to now on those 4 KPIs is extremely encouraging. So keep it up, if I should say that. But with all that, I think there are some challenges that I would just like to pose to you and maybe get your thoughts on it. The first one being, I mean, of course, as you have all these ambitions of improving the system, of course, you need to take other stakeholders along. In other words, not just the employees, but business and everyone else to make sure that, for example, the VAT auto-assessment is automatic and any other enhancements that you'd like to do. So beyond what you are doing internally, what are you doing to bring those along? Other challenges that I'm seeing from where I sit that might also hinder you, of course, as you increase your use of technology, it comes with great risks as well. I mean, one such risk for which we're still waiting a report from the tax ombudsman is around the profile hijacking and all of that. So what is the Commissioner and his team doing to ensure that as you move ahead and use technology, it doesn't end up working against you. Because, I mean, we've seen how that is impositioned a number of taxpayers when that happened. And I think the last question that I would put to you is that, Commissioner, I mean, with the dwindling economy, and of course, given the developments of what we woke up to yesterday morning, it's going to be a very tough one for you to get to be able to collect, because with what we're experiencing in Lesotho, the likelihood is that it might even come to our shores, not necessarily as a state of emergency, but it will affect taxpayers, or in other words, revenue from which you would have been able to collect revenue from. So what is it that can be done to make sure that we'll still be able to meet that ambitious target that you have set for yourself, that 2 trillion, or at least even meet what Minister Kotongwane has set for yourself? Because the economy is not growing as fast as expected. You have all those bold ambitions, but these challenges still stand in your way. I'll pause there, Prof. Majola, and thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
Ngubane.
you very much. Prof, so would you like to take that one, or can we take another?
Take one more round. Take one
yes.
more round, Prof.
Thanks,
Majola.
Prof. Yes, thanks. So let's take Sislindelwa, and then Prof will respond after that. Sislindelwa, over to you.
Thank you so much for a brilliant presentation. It's amazing. Thank you. And you've done a good job. I just want to go back to a leadership question. What lessons can you share with leaders, especially South African leaders? Your courage to be able to say, I take no instruction from no politician. I would rather resign. Where does that courage come from? Could it be that you are much older, your children are not in some private school, you are not, you like there's nothing that is going to tie you to any politician? We thought that after the state capture, we had managed this, but after the last 2 days or so, after General Mkwanazi's revelations, it does look like we still struggle with this as leaders. And I don't think it's about how much we earn. I think it's something bigger than that, because even the things that we are given as frills are not much. It's a trip overseas, it's a holiday, something that you can afford to do for yourself. So what is it that has given you that courage to say, I would rather walk away? That's my question, because it's something that we continue to struggle with. And we've lost a lot of leaders. We've lost Black excellence, people who were brilliant. But it was just the instructions that they were not supposed to have taken. So what lessons can you share with us on that?
Thank you, Sis Lindy. So let me just come back to Ngubani's question. In terms of what are we doing with other government agencies? So we already, many do not know this, but SARS has been actively involved as a technology partner for Home Affairs and have built the initial e-visa systems and platforms. There was a period where that was interrupted. Home Affairs became challenged, and they've now asked us to become involved in helping them again. We have just built a proof of concept for them to develop an instant e-visa system, because basically we said to the minister and the DG, if SARS can conduct a tax assessment in under 5 seconds, which is more complicated than issuing a visa, why can we not issue a visa in under 5 seconds? Why must someone in China who lives in the Jilin province in the north travel all the way to Shanghai on a 5-hour or 4-hour plane drive just to go and make an appointment? And so the challenge is to build an e-visa system. We've worked with them. We've built a proof of concept. The minister made the announcement that they hope to launch that before the end of this year. We are working with them and the Reserve Bank on developing a unique digital identity, because in South Africa, we believe that every nationalized individual have at least 7 digital identities, which means we have a population of 60 million, but we have a digital population of about 420 million. So it's easy to mask yourself because you can use and hide yourself. So we're working towards a single unique digital identity that identifies you anywhere in the system as only one version of you. And then we're working with the Reserve Bank to build an instant payment system to improve financial inclusion and to reduce the flow of money in the system, because that is part of what breeds corruption and money laundering and other practices. Tomorrow, I am meeting with the Minister of Justice, who has asked, can we help transform the Master's Office? Because the Master's Office is completely inefficient and falling over because they're still working in manual processes, the same way that SARS did 25 years ago. So there's a lot of work. We work with the NPA, we work with the SIU, because we're also dependent on them in order to ensure that not only do we deal with the tax crime, we also deal with the criminal crime that is often related to that. Are we doing enough? Not nearly enough. We can do a lot more, but we're doing the best we can with the resources we have. Of course, technology and AI presents risks. You spoke about the profile hacking. Let me just share this, Ngobani, that we find that in 99% of the times, the integrity breach comes from the user. And I almost don't want to say that, and they say touch wood when you mention something so that you don't jinx yourself. But we had no big, massive integrity breach. And we fight with everything in how we strengthen our firewalls, what we do behind the DMZ in the safe zone, how we allocate profiles to our own employees, how we can track and trace and fingerprint the work they do. But 99% of, where there's a profile breach, it's almost always a user who have shared their password or their profile with someone else. Or we find in small firms of tax practitioners, they share profiles amongst each other. And it's almost always that. But on our side, what we have done in addition now, we've introduced biometric verification using AI technology, hopefully, and we've now piloted that, and hopefully we will in the future use that as our primary way to identify you, because we believe that biometric identification is the most effective current form of identification. We've also introduced two-factor authentication, where once you have been identified, we will also send an OTP so that we can link you. And even once you've identified, we've raised the bar so that once you are on our platform and you want to perform a particular high-risk transaction, we will ask you for a further identification. So we've done a lot to improve that, but your point is spot on. We never, ever can relax because, it's like safe maker, safe breaker. And safe breakers are always, their challenge is to hack into the safe, no matter how much security you build. So you never, ever give up. Then your point about the correlation of, in a poor economy, how do you get revenue? So unfortunately, in poor economies, revenue is suppressed, not only because tax is just an imposition on the economy. A healthy economy produces healthy taxes. A sluggish economy will impact negatively. And then there is an amplifying effect both ways. But the reason why we are confident over the next 3 years to produce and meet the minister's expectation, even though the economy has been forecast has been declining, is because you will recall in Parliament I spoke about this 800 billion. Half of that is what we call balance sheet items or tax that is already belong to the state in the form of debt that is not disputed. We have about 400 billion of debt. We have about another 100 billion of disputed debt. We have over 50 million outstanding returns that also have value to it. And so we say, if we can just harvest, 30% of that, it's another 150 billion rand, almost 120, 150 billion. The second issue is the theoretical tax gap studies estimates that South African theoretical tax gap is anywhere between 400 and 600 billion rand. And we say if we can close the tax gap, we can fill the hole even in a sluggish economy. So that's where our confidence comes from. But that requires deep, deep data science, the deployment of technology, building the skill of our people, and being laser sharp in the work we choose to do. To Sithlindi's question, what is the source of courage? Wow. I don't have a textbook answer for you, but let me tell you that my most profound lessons of my life, I didn't learn from the many degrees I studied for. I learned from my parents. My parents taught me the two most profound lessons. From my dad, I learned the lesson of honest, hard work. Not just hard work, but honest hard work. And from my mother, I learned the purpose of my life, that I am here to be a blessing. So that in everything I do, I have to ask myself, are you being a blessing? And so that's my first source of clarity, if not courage, of what I am to be as a leader. The second is my most favorite person, other than my blood relatives, is Tata Madiba. He's one of my most favorite persons. And his words in the Rivonia trial has remarkable profundity that we should never miss. He said, when he sketched out his vision for a non-sexist, non-racist, free South Africa, he said, that is the South Africa that I live for and want to see become a reality. But if necessary, that is the South Africa I am prepared to die for. And leaders must know what they are prepared to die for. If they don't know what they are prepared to die for, what are they living for? What are they living for? So I am clear what I'm prepared to die for. And dying isn't taking a bullet. Dying is being prepared to suffer injustice sometimes for the sake of doing the right thing. And you may raise the point, which I don't want to trivialize. Of course, it's easier to stand up when you are financially secure, when you don't have a bond to pay, when you don't have kids at school. It's easier. But I also pay black tax. So I can promise you I have many onhangers who need to eat from my little nest egg that I have. Okay, so it's not insignificant for me. But if I tell you my story, it will be the same story that I can tell you when I was the head of an academic institution in my late 20s, whether I was a young power station manager in my mid-30s, when I was a deputy commissioner, a CEO of Alexander Forbes, or the commissioner of SARS. My story will be the same. Lead with courage, not with fear. Lead with conviction. Don't be beholden to anything other than the truth and your conscience. And that's a DNA issue. You can't train it. What I try to do is to model it and to, through that, hopefully inspires others to lead the same. It is not risk-free. It is not pain-free. If I must tell you the personal cost and pain that I experience every day for doing this job, you would ask me, why are you so stupid to do it? Financially, emotionally, and personally. But you know what? Why do I do it? I do it because I'm guided by the courage of my conviction that for the season that I'm able to make a difference, I want to leave South Africa a better place than the one I was born into. And that's where my source of courage comes from.
Wow, powerful there, powerful. So wish that we could really learn from those principles, leading by courage and conviction. That's a very important thing. I saw a hand there from Adelaja, but let me just check the chat room there. Sam Nkosi Commissioner Wezi, very inspiring. I'm just looking for, not that I'm undermining the comments, they're very important as well, but just checking the question. Boiki, why impressive. How do we take this to the rest of government departments? That's a question from Boiki. Professor Godin, wow, what an inspiring presentation. Standing applause. Wow, what greatness. The Lord bless you and all that you Alam, very well delivered. Same extraordinary leadership. Dr. Tandiwe, excellent. Katie, thank you for the inspiration and assurance that SA has what it takes to make things work. Brother Victor, the increase in tax base and corresponding revenue from year on year is encouraging. Sidiso, thanks, Commissioner, for your presentation. May you please share your views on the two-pot system? Is it a system that was meant to help people or the government's other means to collect a revenue? So that's another question there, Prof. Dr. Tandiwe. Prof. Kiswete, I wish I had words to express my appreciation of the sterling work you have managed to turn SARS around. Amongst the significant messages I'm taking about steward leadership is the message that steward leaders do not create single building. Prof, I think that's a question from Dr. Tandiwe. Prof, what would you say are the pillars that underpinned your turnaround strategy of SARS? So that's another question there. Nobody has already commented. Reverend Banoi, we sometimes miss the opportunity of thanking God for the gift of parents. Bravo to your parents for the instilled leadership qualities they bless you with and extension you become. Thank you for. So those are just, I think there were 3 questions there from the chat. I don't know if you want to take those one, Prof, and then we take some hands there. Probably there will be the last round of questions.
Prof. Majola, I've got the two-part question. I've got the question on pillars that underpin success, which I think we've largely covered, but I can recap. What was the third question?
Did you have that from Boiki? How do we take this to the rest of government departments? So I'm sure the principles that you've shared with us. And when we come back, I'll take Adelaja. I see Dr. Tumamangisa there as well when we come back. If you can just respond to those, my professor. When we come back, we'll take the last round and then Prof, we will respond and then we'll close the session.
So let me deal with a two-part. That's an easy one. So unfortunately, most South Africans are ill-prepared for retirement. Part of it is our history. We seem to forget that pension funds for Black people is a recent invention. It was only in the last decade that provident funds and pension funds and other savings instruments were equalized. Secondly, that because in the 30 years of our democracy, we have really failed to lift people out of poverty. And even those who are employed have not seen a real increase in their wealth. They've become poorer in effect, and the Gini coefficient has increased. So we still deal with a stubborn residue of poverty, inequality, unemployment. And nothing that we are doing at the moment creates the confidence that we are substantively dealing with it. Now, you balance with the very logical, rational need to use some of your earnings today and to prepare for the future, of oudag, soos die ou mense gesê het, vir oudag. How do you do that in a context where, for many people, they don't even know if they're going to reach retirement age? They don't even know if they're going to see the end of the week, let alone the end of the month. Because we live in a country where there's a high risk of mortality through whatever means. Secondly, we all know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Many of our brothers and sisters are battling to get beyond the first level of need, which is this, their basic needs for food, water, shelter, safety. Now you're telling them, in that context, they must prepare for the future. So it's almost morally and ethically indefensible to do that. But the price we're paying for that as a society is, today, we're spending 62 cents of every rand on some form of social wage. A growing list of old age pensions, growing list of single mother grants, of unemployment grants, a demand for social relief of distress grants. That is a symptom of an economy that isn't growing, inequality that's not being addressed. So I share that background because I now want to come to the two-pot system. The two-pot system is therefore almost a compromise that takes into account the moral dilemma of the reality of people, plus the need to become self-reliant and take the burden of the state by preparing for their own future. And the two-pot, 1/3, 2/3, creates the opportunity, because what we've experienced is people resign to get access to their money because they have a basic need now. And so they don't have employment continuity, and they pay the price for that in the future because they join the long queues of unemployment because we're not creating jobs. So once you give up your job, you potentially may never get back to a job again. It's a high price to pay. So now at least you don't have to resign. You can have access to 1/3 of your pension fund in terms of the rules, and 2/3 is untouchable. It also creates some form of preservation. So as far as I'm concerned, the two-pot system is a balance, a short-term, long-term trade-off to meet both those objectives. And I think it's the best we can do. What else we can do is make enrollment compulsory, as countries like Singapore and others have done. And secondly, limit the purpose of access to buying assets rather than disposable or discretionary goods. In other words, buy a house, pay off your debt, invest in education, invest in savings instruments, because that then has annuity value as opposed to go on a holiday or buy a bigger car from that money. So I think it's a trade-off that I think we should live with. The rest of government, before I come to the pillars of success, because I think I'll close on that again. The rest of government, as I said, we work with all of them. But there's a word, Prof. Mojala, that says when the student is ready, the master appears. Many of our leaders in government don't believe they need help. They don't believe that they are underprepared for the work that they have been asked to do. A sign of great leadership is you do not see a promotion as a reward for past performance. You see a promotion as a trust placed in you for future performance. And you honor that. And you wake up every morning with a yearning to prove yourself worthy of the trust that is placed in you. And so for me, we lack that in government sometimes. And then the second thing is, we've made it too easy. I had a conversation 3 weeks ago with a senior member of the Chinese Communist Party with whom I had a lunch when I was in China. And we spoke about leadership. And he said to me the following, with unwavering conviction. He said, you know, he says to me, Commissioner, in China, when we appoint anyone, we look for 5 things. Firstly, character. Is the person a person of good character? Secondly, ability. Does the person have the ability to do the job we're going to ask him or her to do? Thirdly, achievement. Have they already got a track record of achievement in their past? Fourthly, work ethic. Do they have the work ethic? Are they hard working? Are they honest workers? Or are they just do the least they can get to come by? And the fifth one is incorruptible. Now, let me say, imagine if we use that as a standard for every political deployment and for every appointment in a public office, how that would transform our country. We would build it into a civil service that is meritocratic and not patronized or based on patronage. And so unfortunately, until we get there, we are going to struggle as a public service. Which then brings me to the pillars of success, which I want to just wrap up on. So the first that I said is, when I arrived at SARS, I knew it was about people. Everything we do, it was about people. Secondly, it was about being clear in many things. Clear where you stand, acting on that conviction, communicating it consistently, and clear where you want to take the organization to. And of course, working with others, but leaders must provide the clarity. Thirdly, is to what we often lack is we have great plans and visions, but we fail to build teams that can execute it. When the analysis of our NDP first plan was made by the NDP, the diagnostic says the 2 reasons that have characterized our lack of progress is 1, the inability to translate plans into action, and secondly, the inability to build strong partnerships between different constituencies in society. We have made sure that that is embedded in our 9 strategic objectives, working with and through others. And then third, when we set a goal, we measure everything. Clear objectives, measurable outcomes. And you can see everything we do, I can tell you what the measure is. When I tell you we do 32 million little things that have produced 304 billion rand of additional revenue, I can tell you what those 32 million little things are. I took you under the hood. So it's the level of specificity of the basic minutiae that together makes up the big whole. And then the other points about leading from the front, leading by example, leading with courage, but serving as a steward ultimately. For me, I believe is the pillars on which we have built the institutional integrity and the turnaround of SARS. Let me pause there, Prof. Majola. Thank you.
Thank you, my professor. Thank you very much. If I can just ask you for your indulgence there, if we just can take the last round. The first one would be Adelaja, and Adelaja will be followed by Dr. Chuma Mangisa, and then we'll ask you to respond after those two colleagues. Over to you, Adelaja.
Good evening, Prof. Mazwe. Good evening, Prof. Head. Thank you so much for the inspiring lecture. I had a couple of questions, but the last round you mentioned, you actually answered most of them. So I will just go straight to the point and ask if you still have the for Alexandra Forbes, do you still have the age limit to bring on young leaders on the board for training? So I think you made mention of that 7 years ago. Because like you said in your last round, the students are ready. We're just looking for right mentors to learn from and to I don't know if you get that, Prof.
Of course, I'd love to talk about that, Adelaja. Let me take the other two questions and I'll deal with this one.
Okay, just Dr. Mgolozeni just it's better if Dr. Chuma appears. We agree with you. I think those are the ones, Prof. Kisweta, if you can just respond to those ones and also give us your parting shots, and then we close the session after that.
So let me come to the next generation leaders. It is something that I started doing about 3 decades ago, as I realized that what we need is a fusion for many reasons between the leaders of today and the leaders of tomorrow. I was fortunate that I was given a massive power station at the age of 33. If I look back now, I still can't believe that Eskom entrusted me with this big Meccano set at such a young age. And so one of the ways I decided I would pay it forward is to do exactly what Eskom did for me, is to identify next generation leaders and to mentor them, to invest in them. And then about 20 years ago, I started thinking of a way of institutionalizing that. And I created what is known as a junior board concept. I'd read about it once from General Electric, and what the junior board is. So we've created it at SARS. In my first time there, Alexander Forbes, which is what Adelaja is saying, refer to the SARS, the Alexander Forbes Junior Board, and I have a junior board at SARS. So what it is, we run an open process of nomination of everyone in the organization below the age of 35. They can nominate themselves or others can nominate them. They give me a 1-minute video to make a pitch as to why they would make a difference. That 1-minute video is then viewed by a team that helps me and whittle down to about 50 or so. And then we reduce it finally to about 30. I then meet with the 30 and I divide them into groups on 5 and 6. Then I give them a team assignment because great leaders must also work in teams. And we give them a real problem that they must solve. Then they come back, they pitch their problems. It gives them an ability to think about the business on abstract or theoretical terms. And based on how they've thought about it, we then take that, and from them we choose normally 15 or 16 of them. They form what we call the junior board, and that's an institutionalized platform that gives them direct access to the CEO, to the senior executives. I invite them to board meetings. I invite them to meetings where they can contribute, they can challenge us. Very often you give the same problem to them that you give to the senior team, and you can see how they think about it. They are often more audacious, less experienced, higher risk takers, less conservative. And you balance that with the experience, the conservatism, and that creative tension. Firstly, is helpful for new ideas, taking us forward, but also you're giving a platform for young people to stretch their muscle, to build muscle, to be the next generation leaders. We do the same for women. We've created a women leaders platform because unfortunately in society, our society, there are still too many structural impediments, largely caused by men. Men are the worst culprits in gender abuse and discrimination. So unless you are intentional, create the platform. So I engage with our female leaders, give them the same opportunities. And if you come closer to what we are doing, create positive advantage for women to also break through the glass ceiling. So that's the intentional leadership expansion beyond the leadership work that I do. I work with female leaders. I work with next generation leaders to make sure that we have the generational mix, the gender mix, and other elements of diversity. Diversity is not just Black, Asians, coloreds, and that's just one aspect of diversity. There's much more to diversity that we need to build. Dr. Chuma? Dr. Chuma says, my brain should not go to waste after retirement. Have you thought about to team with the National School of Government and the Public Service Commission that we have great leaders? So what I'm working on, Dr. Chuma, is maybe we can put me to sleep and put an AI to my head to suck everything out and to scale it up. It's much better. Dr. Chuma, you may not know, but in my private life, I have invested into a university. It is called the Da Vinci Institute of Leadership. So I will continue to replicate both my mistakes and my successes, and will help and continue to build. I love this country. I have nowhere else I want to be. And I don't want to sit on the sidelines and criticize. I want to be in the arena, fighting the fight. I just have to find a different corner than the corner I'm fighting in at the moment. But I won't stop fighting. I'm an activist at heart.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. And perhaps the last one, if you can indulge me, Prof. The last one, because your leadership skills, your leadership characterization, it is mostly deserved within, most of the boards, within, government entities. Are you also considering that? Because that's another way, of turning around the country to make sure that our state entities are well led, by people who have show, who have proof, tangible proof, that they have led successful organizations. Is that a thought, perhaps, going forward after your retirement? Thank you so much.
So let me just again share something with you. I'm currently I'm on the President's National Energy Crisis Committee. I lead the work stream on turning the plant performance of Eskom around. I give them a hard time. I challenge them. I work with a small team of former Eskom leaders that worked in my era and responsible for turning Eskom from an average utility into a world-class utility by 2004. And I have brought them back now, and we work alongside Dan. In fact, Dan and I just this afternoon, I sent him a report from this work stream, and we will have a breakfast. We have breakfast once a month, and weekly we work with a team of them to try and help them. So that's one way where I'm trying to pay back and pay forward some of the experience I have from the electricity sector. But I will also look, I served before I joined SARS, I served as the chair of TIA, that's the Technology Innovation Agency, and I also served as a board member on Transnet before I joined SARS. So I have always made myself available to serve, but we don't appoint ourselves. We wait until we are invited.
That's music in my ears, Prof. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And thank you very much, Dr. Mangisa. Thank you. May I ask my professor and my leader, Prof. Zide, to thank the speaker, then we close the session after that. My professor, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, my professor. I would also like to thank most excitingly and profusely Professor Kisweta. Am I audible, colleagues?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's great. Ed, please allow me to call you Ed as Prof.
That's what my mom calls me, so that's fine.
Thank you so much for such an insightful as well as an inspirational presentation. You know, not only did you teach us more about Steward leadership, rather, but you also took us through a journey of SARS and you demystified the work that SARS does. To some of us, SARS was just, coming to us at the end of each financial year, wanting tax returns, and that's it. But the way in which you have explained what, servant leadership is all about made us truly to say in you, we really have a leader who understands that steward leadership is really about people. And the journey that you have taken us through explains much deeper the kind of a person you are. Were it not for the kind of a person you are and your leadership style, I do not think that we would have said, please come back for part 2. The same energy you demonstrated when you dealt with part 1 of your presentation, I think that was last year. And even today, I can hear some voices at the back of my head saying, we want some more, we want some more. And so as Professor Mangisa said, that there is life after retirement, and we are happy that you are making such a contribution to society even as we speak. I come from higher education background, and that you are involved with Da Vinci, I think for me, it speaks volume of the person you are. And I must also thank you, Professor, for having indicated to us that physical experience is much more important. In fact, there is a convergence between physical experience and digital experience. Some of us, maybe that's the question of old age, we're kind of skeptical about digital experience. But you have demystified that look, even though we're talking about digital experiences, behind digital experiences stands a human being. And so that to us is very, very key. And you have made us quite aware of that. And then the question which you expanded on leading with conscience and not with fear. Wow. I can only say wow. Because when your parents brought you up, that's where you got the energy from. That you stand on the side of truth and justice, and you don't allow any political interference to come into your space. In the climate we're living in, there are very, very few people who would really come closer to what you're saying. Because our country, let us be brutally honest, there is so much interference in any sphere. And if you don't toe the line, they quickly get you out, whether physically or emotionally. So I am really excited about that leadership. And then, of course, you explained something that we took for granted, all the time, about what promotion really means. That promotion is the trust placed on you and not a recognition of your past performance. I have taken the note of that because it really, really, really explains what we should be excited about when we are getting promoted, and that this is not just a recognition of past experience, but certainly the trust that the company has for you as you're moving forward with your leadership journey. May I also finally, my professor, take pride and commend you about the conversation that you had with your China counterpart. What China is really looking for when making an appointment: character, ability, achievement, work ethic, as well as incorruptible somebody. I so wish that our government of national unity, I call it government of national uncertainty, because sometimes you're not sure whether all the parties will be there tomorrow or one of the parties shall be out, but nonetheless, it's a government of national unity. It needs more people like you, and for having agreed to come back, address us, Professor, we are so, so indebted to you. And for that, may the Lord continue to empower you, and that you continue empowering us as well. And so thank you ever so much, Professor, and thank you, Prof. Majola, for such an exciting presentation through Professor Kiswetter. Thank you so much, colleagues. Good night.
Thank you. My pleasure and honor.
And thank you, my professor. Thank you so much, Prof. Kiswetter. Once again, thank you so much for your humility and respect. We know how busy you are, but just for you to find time to come and address us. We are looking forward for the part 3. We are learning so much. We are learning so much from you. And as we are doing that, why don't we thank Prof. Kiswetter? There's that. I think it's when you click there, there's icon. You'll see the one that's clapping hands. If we can just clap hands for the professor for what he has done. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we are meeting again next week, same time, same place, same details, everything for another session. So for those who joined us for the first time, thank you so much. Please do come again next week for another masterclass, as we always do. Thank you. The session is adjourned now. Until we meet again next week, may God bless you and may God bless Africa. Thank you and goodbye. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.